My name is Renison Jeffrey, and this is the Workers' Rights Platform. We are broadcasting live from the Workers' Rights Network. Many a times, we listen to commentary, but this one, we cannot add nor take away, but is the reality that we are living right here in Trinidad and Tobago. So the many of you that may not have heard this clip, please listen to it and reflect on it deeply.
Beloved family, let's be honest regarding that selection of a prime minister process that took place. If African people in Trinidad and Tobago had economic power, owned and controlled the means and forces of production and manufacturing, had real estate to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars, and owned the supermarkets, owned the insurance companies, and controlled the banking, insurance, and finance institutions, would it have been possible for a majority African group of parliamentarians to have an opinion as proud, upright Africans with integrity, go into a room and then come out of the room with a different opinion to place an individual to become Trinidad and Tobago's first Chinese prime minister? Be honest. If African people, even with education, did not have to depend so heavily on an elitist Caribbean white minority, 1% Syrian group for employment and opportunities and chances of empowerment, if we were not in that state, would it have been possible at all for a situation like that to happen? And is there any other ethnic group in Trinidad and Tobago that can have an opinion centered around the visibility of ethnicity? All of them have one opinion. They go into a room, someone says something to them to change their minds, and then they come out of the room supporting someone who is outside of their ethnic group, who has no ties, links, or connections to the foundation or grassroots of their own people. I am saying no. Now, let's analyze just for a brief moment the statements that were made by the Member of Parliament for San Fernando West, former Attorney General. He said, when that happened, we made history. We broke the ceiling. We did it. Did what? He said, our party has done what the country said we could not do. We have now a non-African leader of an African-based majority political party. Now, as far as I know, Trinidad and Tobago being a magnificent society with so many accomplishments and achievements, we use that kind of language when we achieve something great. When Penny Young was the first black Miss Universe in 1977, or when Hazley Crawford won the gold medal in 1976, or when the West Indies won the Cricket World Cup in 1975 and 1979, when we qualified for the World Cup in 2006, when Kershawn Walcott won the gold medal in 2012. All of these great achievements, we said things like, we made history, we broke the ceiling, we did it because we accomplished something great. My question to you is, what is so great about coming to the point where we no longer have an African leader over an African party? What is there to celebrate about that? So when we saw that, we see a scenario whereby in our country, political power is the only power that African people have left. It's the last remnant of power African people have. And now that's being taken too. Because in Trinidad and Tobago, Indians and Syrians can both be rich at the same time. Africans and Indians can both be rich at the same time. But Syrians and Africans cannot both be rich. Syrians and the 1% are rich because Africans are poor. And I don't think that the 1% community has had a greater servant to safeguard their economic interests and opportunities more so than our last political regime and our last prime minister, who has made Trinidad and Tobago very proud on the world stage. He has accomplished and represented us well on the outside, but he has not represented the interests of the African community on the inside. As a matter of fact, to the contrary, he has facilitated some measures that have hurt the African community, such as preventing the establishment of an African bank, destroying the legacy of CLICO, which took place through his Ministry of Finance, closing down tens of thousands of African businesses who they just tried to scramble and struggle last week to save, and many could not. And this policy of helping the rich to get richer and hoping that they feel sympathy for the poor, that was a recipe for disaster, beloved. But now we are even losing the last bit of power. And for those of you who are saying, oh, well, Brother David, it's not about race, unfortunately, that's part of your brainwashing. Don't blame me. Because we will see loans not being given to Africans in banks and the Caribbean white community never being told no. But we will say, but it's not about race. We will see inordinate prison population of 95% African, even though you have some of the biggest drug lords and major big fish white collar criminals who are non-African, who never go to jail, nor if they've even arrested, nor under suspicion. But we're the ones who are going to say it's not about race. And now the African mantle of leadership, which is largely cosmetic and visible, but still a source of inspiration for all of our disenfranchised African youth. Now that even that has been lost, we are going to say it's not about race. And you know something? Let me say to my African brothers and sisters in politics, all of you, as my people, I love you. To the parliamentarians, the way you conduct yourself, I don't like it. The way you operate, for the most part, I cannot trust you. But now we've come to the point where almost all of you have lost respect for you. It's very difficult for a conscious black man like me to have any last thread of respect for you. If you can go into a room as a proud African with integrity and belief and the recognition of a goal for our people, and you go into a room with that kind of consciousness, and then you come out of the room with your head down and your tail between your legs, feeling frustrated and embarrassed and ashamed, powerless. What sense does it make us putting you in positions of political power if you can be bought or sold or convinced against your will so easily, even when just a few hours before you had a different opinion? So when the former Attorney General, Member of Parliament for San Fernando West, when he uses that kind of language, we did it. And I ask, what was it that you did? Well, what was did or done was whatever was done to you all in that room when you went in, and then came out thinking differently. And now the whole local white community is celebrating what you did. But really what you did it to us. And Trinidad and Tobago might become the first country in the world that when the issue of reparations comes up, that we're going to say, it's not about race. And the injustice, the oppression, the inequality, the racial profiling and stereotyping, the economic, ethnic cleansing, and all of the injustice against African people, you all are going to be the cheerleaders and bandwagonists to say it's not about race. I am saying to you, wake up and get caught.
Now, you hear the take. Please try and understand what we are up against as black people within this country. When you go to the banks, no loan. When you go to certain government organization, nothing is being offered to us. Only bare minimum. This is a reality that we are facing here in Trinidad and Tobago. And what I am fighting for and what the rest of the people that is a part of this organization is fighting for, trying for the wider public to understand, is that we are up against a monster. And the only how we could face this is together. So I hope that you really listen and try to understand. My name is Renison Jeffrey. This is the Workers' Rights Platform, and thanks for staying on with us thus far. Thank you.